Do you consider yourself a high achiever? Smart, driven, highly successful? I am so excited to have you. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm the host of the Stressed podcast. I will help you develop your stress resilience the same way you've developed your workplace superpowers. Learn peak performance tools to thrive at work and in your personal life. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to Stressed, the podcast to develop peak performance tools to thrive at work and in your personal life. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm the host of this podcast. I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer. And today I am really excited that you are here today for two reasons. First of all, because today we're talking about a really powerful topic, which is how to master emotional intelligence, a topic that I'm super passionate about and that I think is super crucial if you want to be successful both in your professional and in your personal life. And second of all, I'm also really glad that you are here today because I have a couple of really important updates for this podcast that I want to share with you. And let me actually start with that. If you have been listening to my podcast for a while now, thank you so much if you have. Then you know that I'm usually publishing new podcast episodes every Monday. This is now shifting to every Wednesday because I have decided to produce 2 videos per week for you on my YouTube channel, which I'm releasing every Monday and every Friday. And I want to make sure, obviously, that I'm spreading out the content a little bit to give you time to learn different kind of skills and tools. What is also really important is that every other week on my podcast, you will actually listen to one of my YouTube videos. So again, if you have been listening to my podcast for a while now, you know that first of all, every week you receive a new podcast episode every Monday, usually, which is now moving to Wednesday. And then you also know that usually I have one podcast interview guest every other week on my podcast, which will remain the same. So every other week you will have a podcast interview guest that you can listen to, which I'm always really excited about. And there's some really great podcast interview guests coming up in the near future. And then there's also the other podcast episode, right, where I'm just sharing with you kind of different tools and kind of insights on topics related to the peak performance method. And in order to make it a little bit easier for you to not have to digest too much content and too many different news at the same time, I decided that every week when it's my podcast, that I will share simply a YouTube video with you. Okay? So you don't have to go to my YouTube channel for that specific video, for that one video per week, because you will listen to it on the podcast. And then of course, I would still love to see you for the other video on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is just simply by my name, Julia Arndt. And like I said, there's many videos on my YouTube channel today in order to help you develop peak performance tools. And there's a lot more topics and insights on my YouTube channel that you can find on this podcast. So really important. And of course, I hope that you will stay with me and that you will continue to listen to the podcast in order to develop your peak performance skills. And of course, at the end of the day, to develop yourself, right? This is really important if you want to be a peak performer. And I'm really excited that you are here for that specific reason. So today I'm going to share with you the YouTube video on how to master emotional intelligence, what emotional intelligence is, what the 4 stages of emotional intelligence are, and 3 specific tools on how you can master your emotional intelligence. And if you find this topic super powerful and super interesting, just as I do, and if you say either, oh, I really like this topic and I would love to share this topic with my team, then you can reach out to me because I'm currently offering interactive workshops for teams on exactly this topic, developing emotional intelligence. And if you just think that it's a really interesting topic for yourself personally because you want to develop your emotional intelligence, then I invite you to come over and join the Academy of Peak Performers. It's my monthly membership community that I'm meeting with on a weekly basis in order to help them develop all of the different skills that are necessary in order to continue to be a peak performer and sustain your performance. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways of how you can interact with me, a lot of different ways on how you can grow and how you can build these different skills. So without further ado now, I want to jump into the video and I want to jump into the topic of emotional intelligence. So thank you so much already for listening. Thank you so much for your interest. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you around starting next week every Wednesday. And for those of you that also like YouTube, I hope to see you on my YouTube channel every Monday and every Friday. So thank you so much. Take care of yourself. With gratitude, Julia. So in order to understand how to master your emotional intelligence, let's talk about the definition of emotional intelligence. Basically, what emotional intelligence simply says and states is that it is your capacity to understand and manage your own emotions and feelings. And because of that, because you understand yourself and you are able to self-manage, then you are also better equipped at understanding other people's emotions and how to develop relationships. So how to use those kind of insights to your advantage, both in your work life, but of course also in your personal life. And there is a lot of research that has been done on emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence today is one of the most important skills that you need to master if you want to be successful both in your professional and personal life. In fact, there's a data point that I love and that I want to share with you, which says emotional intelligence accounts for 58% of performance in any type of job. That is a lot. That means that besides time management, communication, decision making, emotional intelligence is one of the key things that you should be mastering if you want to be successful in your life, okay? So that is really, really important to understand. The next data point that I want to share with you in order to start moving into understanding, okay, what are the 4 stages of emotional intelligence is this one. Only 36% of people are able to identify their emotions in the moment, which means that 64% or 2/3 of people are still not able to identify their emotions in the moment. And with that, then it is really difficult to use their emotions and use those insights to their benefit when they are navigating different situations and different relationships. So this is really, really important, that it's this key skill to success at work and in your personal life. And that is the reason why emotional intelligence is also on the top of the peak performance method, because if you are mastering all these different skills that are part of the peak performance method, then you are also able to master emotional intelligence. And I'm not going to talk about the peak performance method more in detail here in this video. There's another video that's called How to Sustain Your Performance, where I'm diving really deep into what the peak performance method is made of. So now that you understand what emotional intelligence is and why it is so important to master emotional intelligence, we can move into the next topic, which is what are the 4 stages of emotional intelligence. The foundation of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. This is super, super important, and that ties back to that fact that I just shared with you before, that 36% of people are able to identify their emotions in the moment. There are 5 different emotions or key feelings that we distinguish between in psychology, which are happiness, sadness, anger, fear, and shame. Which is really interesting, because if you pay attention, there's only 1 that actually describes a positive feeling, and then 4 describe a more negative feeling. So 5 core emotions or 5 core feelings. And if you want to start developing your emotional intelligence, it could be really helpful to identify these 5 emotions in the moment. So what are you tending towards, right? Is it happiness? Is it sadness? Is it anger? Is it fear? Or is it shame? But self-awareness is really the foundation of emotional intelligence. If you don't understand yourself, you cannot regulate yourself, and then you will have a hard time to understand other people and their reactions. And obviously, you will not be able to use those insights to your advantage when you're managing relationships. So emotions are really, really important. Understanding yourself. And my trainer from the CBT course, the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy course, he always says that if you don't understand yourself, how do you want to understand other people? The key to success is to understand yourself, to be aware and to really explore who you are and what kind of feelings are coming up and how you are navigating through life in order to really develop that emotional intelligence skill, which is a skill, good news, that you can develop. Sometimes we think, oh, this person is super emotionally intelligent and I will never get there, but that's the wrong kind of thinking. And if you want to learn more about mindset and why it is important to really understand how you are thinking and what kind of limiting beliefs you have, I have a video on that as well. But you can develop emotional intelligence. This is the important thing that I want you to take away from today's video. You can develop it and you can master it, and we'll talk about how you can do that. But let me talk with you about the other 3 stages rather quickly, just so you have an understanding of what emotional intelligence is made of. So we talked already about self-awareness, and then the second personal competency, we call it, is self-regulation or self-management. Because of course, it's not only important to be aware and understand your emotions, but it's also important that you are able to manage them. So that is the second layer of emotional intelligence. It is important that you can also self-regulate yourself, especially in stressful situations. Because here's the thing. 70% of people have difficulty managing their emotions when they are in a stressful situation. No surprise, right? Because when our stress levels are super, super high, then it is really difficult to manage our emotions because we are already kind of in this fight or flight state and we tend more towards aggressive or protective behavior, okay? So that is another reason why it is so important to master your emotional intelligence. You want to be able to understand your feelings, you want to be able to identify when you are in a stressful situation and be able to take a step back when you understand, oh, hey, I am dealing with a lot of stress right now, so I'm better taking a step back instead of just react, right? So that is the difference between reaction and response. So really, really important. Self-awareness, first stage, self-management, second stage, and then we're moving into the social competency. And in the social competency, we also have 2 layers, which are, of course, social awareness, so understanding other people's emotions and feelings, and then relationship management. Relationship management is the 4th stage of emotional intelligence, and that basically just says that you are able to listen, to be curious, to not judge a person by its cover, but really to understand their emotions and where they are coming from, and use that to your advantage in order to build powerful relationships. Because here's the deal, only if we are able to really develop personal relationships with people are we able to influence people and are we able to be successful in our lives. So super simple, that is the reason why I want you to master your emotional intelligence, because there is a direct link between emotional intelligence and salary. The more emotionally intelligent you are, the more money you're going to make because you are super smart and you can perform better with higher emotional intelligence. Because when people obviously pay attention to you because you are creating these really powerful bonds, then people will do things for you. And that is why, again, emotional intelligence is a key skill that you want to develop. So now I want to share with you 3 different tools on how you can master your emotional intelligence. Tool number 1 is journaling. Journaling is super powerful because what does journaling help you with? Creating self-awareness. And since you now know that the foundation of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, journaling will really help you with that. So tool number 1 in order to develop your self-awareness is journaling. And I have a few different videos on my YouTube channel on how to develop and start a journaling practice. And I just recently published a video on 5 different journaling prompts in order to improve your performance. So make sure to check that one out, because I'm not diving deeper into these different kinds of insights in this video, because I just want to give you an overview and I want to help you understand what emotional intelligence is and how to master it. So tool number 1, journaling. Super important because you want to create awareness. You want to really build that foundation to the max, and this is a super continuous process. You're not going to master it overnight. This is a process, and if you understand that, then you're already halfway there. Tool number 2, in order to create self-awareness and to also self-regulate, is the acronym STOP. It stands for stop, take a break, observe your emotions, and proceed. I have heard of this acronym for the first time in my MBSR training, which stands for Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Training. Super powerful. And it is really powerful to understand and to use that stop tool because, again, what do you want to do? You want to learn about your emotions and you want to learn about how you can regulate yourself. And when you're using stop, you are moving from being in a reactive mode to a more responsive mode, because you want to create a space between your reaction and your response. So if you start creating awareness around how you feel and why you might be feeling like this in that specific moment, then you can take a moment as well to reflect on, okay, how do I want to react now in this moment? What can I do, right? Do I take a break? Do I take a step away from the situation because I actually identified that I'm feeling super stressed right now and it's not that other person's fault? It's actually on me and I just need to regulate myself. Or do I respond in a different kind of way? Do I have an open conversation? Do I ask the person of how they're feeling? Because of my emotional intelligence, I understand that it's not only me who's going through difficult phases in their life, but also other people. And when you are starting to show up with curiosity, ask questions and truly listen to your counterpart, you will really understand and learn a lot. So, second tool is the STOP acronym that you can use in different situations in order to proceed with caution, in order to identify your emotions first before you proceed. And the final tool that I think is really, really important in order to master your emotional intelligence is understanding yourself by developing stress management tools and the stress management competency. As I told you before, I'm not just a peak performance coach, but I'm also a stress management coach because these two things are super, super closely connected. If you have high stress levels, it's going to be really difficult to master your emotions and with that to master your emotional intelligence. But if you understand where stress comes from, why self-care is so important, what your early warning signals are, that kind of indicate that you are in a stressful situation and that you need to take a break or that you need to integrate some relaxation time into your day-to-day in order to be more balanced, then you will be successful in your life, okay? So the third tool is developing your stress management competency. And I do, again, have many, many videos on my YouTube channel about how you can do that. There's a playlist on all different kinds of videos on the stress management competency and stress management basics in order to develop those skills. But let me tell you this, two things are really important. Identify your early warning signals. So what is an indication that you might be in a stressful situation? Maybe you are more aggressive. Maybe you feel tired. Maybe you feel unfocused and unproductive, unmotivated, unconcentrated. Maybe you feel migraines, right? Maybe you have physical symptoms that are an indicator that you are in a really stressful situation right now. So there are a lot of different indications that usually we get from our physical and our mental body that tell us, hey, there's a lot of stress going on right now, you should better take a break. And then once, of course, you know your own early warning signals, then you can make a decision again based on that information. For example, I have actually had a lot of work today and I've had a lot of stress today. There's just an accumulation of stress hormones in my body and I need to make sure to build them down in order to feel more balanced and more relaxed. And that can be done by, of course, a multitude of different things like yoga, meditation, movement, napping, eating, drinking, all the things, right? There's a lot of different videos on my YouTube channel that you can watch on building stress management tools. And finally, I want to talk with you about, okay, so with that said, with all of that information that you just received, what does emotional intelligence, peak performance, and stress management have in common? Well, let me break it down for you. It's super simple. If you are super stressed, you will not be able to regulate your emotions because it is really, really difficult to regulate your emotions already in stressful situations. And if you are not aware of it, you're going to just let go, right? So you are one of these 64% of people then that are not capable of identifying their emotions in the moment and using that information to their benefit. If you master your stress levels, if you understand how to develop the stress management competency, I call it, then you will be able to also master different peak performance skills in order then to develop and master your emotional intelligence. Because if you let yourself guide by your emotions, then you might not be very emotionally intelligent. So I hope this is really clear now for you. And the last thing that I want to say to you is that everybody wants to be a leader. Everybody wants to develop leadership skills. But what a lot of people don't understand is that leadership starts with yourself. You have to understand yourself. You need to be aware of who you are in order to be able to lead other people. So this is really crucial. And the most successful people are the ones that have very, very high emotional. So I hope you found this video very educational and maybe also even inspirational. And I would love to hear from you. So if you have any questions or if you have any comments, make sure that you leave it underneath the video. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. And if you are interested to learn more about your own emotional intelligence or to help your team develop emotional intelligence, there's a couple of different ways of how you can work with me. You can book an interactive workshop for your team, or you can join my Academy of Peak Performers in order to develop peak performance tools to thrive at work and in your personal life. So thank you so much for watching today. Take care and see you soon. Bye bye.